This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
Who I'm here with today is somebody who really has found herself in a position where she has kind of won an award with her own personal spectacular creativity. Franziska brings to the package, which now includes a winning piece of art, a winning drawing. Many of you know my wife is quite an artist as well, and is part of the committee that was assisted a little bit in creating this particular piece of cover art. And I am so excited to be here. And now it's really just an opportunity to let you speak for yourself. So Franziska, instead of me saying your name wrong, I know that's sort of an American thing to start with. Let's have you say your name in the proper way. My wife is the only one who can say her name properly in this household, so I'm used to this. What's your name?
You actually said it right. It is Franziska.
Okay. Are we going to go for that last name too? What is that?
The last name is Trauttmansdorff.
Okay. See, that's where I would have got off the bus right there. And being here and having a name like that, where are you from and what do you do?
I was born and raised in Austria, and my mom moved to Canada in 1981. I am a photographer by trade, but I abandoned my art for a while, for making money and different reasons. And within the last 2 years, I actually came back to my photography, especially throughout the year of being at home, not working too much because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it my COVID gift because I really rediscovered my art.
I see. And your art media that you rediscovered was primarily in the world of photography then?
Yes, it's photography, and it's primarily wildlife photography.
Wildlife photography. So during these difficult times, have you been able to get out and get some of the excellent photography opportunities?
Yeah, I am actually at the time getting up at 6 a.m, going to look for ospreys, looking for eagles. And I was actually sharing with one of the other photographers at one of the spots that I went to. It doesn't matter if the ospreys are not here. There is always something to be photographed and something to be found.
So I'm certain that a day doesn't go by where you don't take hundreds of photos, yes?
Yes.
Wow.
Not quite hundreds, but almost.
Right. And so that's what makes your heart sing, as we say. And there's an opportunity that you found in the lockdown or the response to COVID that has allowed you to work from home and then refind your passion in the world of being a photographer. Yes?
Yes. And then I have been creating posters for the Conference of Global Transformation for the last couple of years. And one of my big missions for this year's, like in May this year, this poster was called What's in Your Neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
And my intention was to take photographs of all the different wildlife in my immediate neighborhood and get people inspired.
Mm-hmm.
If they see what beautiful things are in their neighborhood, then maybe it's easier to be inspired to take care of it.
Oh, I love the idea. We tend to think that's all that in the neighborhood is the neighborhood cats and dogs and maybe a little squirrel. And if we're unlucky, maybe we'll see a mouse or some insects. And if we're really lucky, maybe we'll see like a hummingbird or a set of birds or a cardinal or a bluebird. But you're not talking about those kind of creatures necessarily. You're actually talking about creatures that I might have not even known are in my neighborhood that share the space with me.
Yeah, I mean, for example, for myself on my journey, I discovered that we have a salmon run within 15 minutes of my house. And I had absolutely no idea. And I was so taken by it because it's just such an incredible thing. And I discovered bald eagles down the street. I discovered a bald eagle's nest. I've been watching an osprey nest for the last 4 months, since April. Every time I go out, I discover new things. I also discovered a lot of small things. I started taking pictures of bees, and I had no
Mm,
idea of what actually goes on inside of a flower until I really started taking photographs of them.
really beautiful. Each and every one of us is really dealing with something, right? No matter whether we're tackling some of the big problems in the world or maybe even the tiny ones, we all face challenges. Now, I've been a psychiatrist for many years, and I've worked with all kinds of people from all walks of life. I've worked with more people than I can really count, from various backgrounds, dealing with more issues than you can imagine, of all sizes and shapes. So naturally, over time, I've developed a number of ways to assist others in gaining a new sense of freedom and empowerment. Now, I'm pulling back the curtain on one of those methodologies, and I'm going public, revealing the process and associated mindset that contributed to using this particular method with maximum effectiveness. It's all laid out in my new book called Creative 8: Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression. You can pick this book up on Amazon.com in either Kindle or paperback format. And as a listener to the Welcome to Humanity podcast, I'd like to offer you a completely free copy in audiobook format. Just go to welcometohumanity.net/creative and download your free audiobook copy of Creative 8 today. I really look forward to hearing about your Creative 8 breakthrough. Now, let's get back to this amazing conversation. Welcome to humanity. Recently, gosh, I'm trying to think if it was even a dream or what the story was. I think it may have been a dream. This idea that I've been seeing some bees. Sometimes we barbecue, or, there are some situations where bees are minding their own beeswax. They're taking care of whatever bees do. And I know I grew up to be at least a little bit trepidatious around bees. Maybe bees are going to sting me, so should stay away and make sure that I don't bother them, and maybe even make sure that I'm not afraid of them, because the old view on this, I think, when I was a child, was that a bee can sense when you're afraid of it, and that's when it will sting you. So somehow as a child, I found myself being terrified of this thing, but pretending not to be, so that I could fool it, so that it wouldn't think that I was afraid, so it wouldn't actually sting me, because that's what I was terrified of. That's probably not your relationship with bees, having now photographed them into their incredible, incredible beauty of what a bee is.
Yeah, well, what I discovered, for example, is that I had no idea that when a bee sting, like puts out its little tongue, that it splits in three. It's also the importance of bees. Bees are such an important part because they're pollinators, and as we have less and less bees, it's becoming a problem.
Yeah, sort of the big passion. There are many people I've noticed where that's the number one thing that they're behind, even in these difficult times where there are obvious other topics which have taken front and center notoriety. There's something about save the bees, or almost more important than any climate change or social justice or even medical issues. There are some people who are just committed to making sure that the bees get salvaged and get their life back for the sake of the entire planet. Is that your take as well on these things?
Well, the main thing is if you lose the bees, who is going to pollinate?
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
don't have cherries, you don't have peaches, you don't have your stuff in your garden. You literally would have to go and do it yourself. It's just pretty impossible, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
like you have the bees buzzing around your fruits and vegetables and pollinating them.
Right.
And as they are disappearing, it is becoming more of an issue.
Hmm.
And therefore, there's a lot of people taking a big stand to save the bees.
Is it really happening that there now are perhaps less cherries or less peaches, the things that bees are sort of responsible for in the life cycle of these plants and trees? Are we seeing a shortage really of available fruits that bees are responsible for?
Well, I know that here in Ontario, and that is from some friends that shared with me, they lost like 1,000 bees, like three beehives, and they had no idea what happened. It just all dropped. They all died, and that was it.
Wow.
And like you had beekeepers, and the beekeepers would go into the apple orchard or in the where they grow the peaches and stuff, and they would set them up, and then the bees actually pollinate, bring it back, and make the honey. So it's a cycle, right? I think it's anywhere in nature when you take a big component out of it, there's consequences.
Yeah. And so bees they're not your only passion, but it sounds like you've really gathered up some real interest, having taken some really beautiful shots, close ups, it sounds like, of bees. And say more about the mouth. What was it about that was really interesting?
So basically, when they sit in a flower, what I discovered as I started taking pictures, and that's how I kind of got started with my project, is they sit there and then they stick out their tongue, and their tongue actually splits in three pieces,
Wow.
which I had absolutely no idea. It's like really amazing.
Is that true with all bees? They have like a three tongue split?
I'm pretty sure it's all of them.
Wow. It's true. I've never seen a bee's tongue. I mean, I've never seen them stick their tongue out or anything.
I had I had no idea either. And then you have the bumblebees, and the bumblebees were in the flowers. My mom has hibiscus, and they go in the hibiscus flowers, and they come back out, and they're so full of pollen that you actually wonder how they're actually still flying.
Right, right. I think I've seen little pictures of that. Like they have suitcases and suitcases of pollen on their body, and you wonder how they can actually lift off. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally wonder like how is it still flying? It's so covered in this stuff. And then it goes to the next and to the next, and it flies around everywhere, and that's basically how it all happens. And the problem is when they're removed, when they're missing, and that component is missing, right? And yes, there are, when you have the greenhouses, they do it manually, like, but it's not the same,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
outside in nature, you can't just go around with a little brush and go from one flower to the other flower to the other flower.
No, no, we're not going to be able to substitute for bees and get that pollination done if we erase them. That's going to be curtains for a big section of the ecosystem, I sounds.
Yes, and I guess the big part of the ecosystem is our food,
Right. For
our
sure.
food supplies, right? And that will just that there is consequences. So my idea is that if you inspire people with beauty and hope, then there's something to be done about it.
Interesting. So, inspiring people with beauty and hope is what your intention is. And by us getting what's really here in our neighborhood, or in our neighborhood, it sounds like can be within a few, within a mile or two, or it can be our neighborhood, can be our city, or it could be, for instance, our region or our state, or it could be our country, or frankly, not so far away, our whole neighborhood is this earth that we're sharing with the animal world. Now, you're also looking for the bigger animals, the ospreys and the eagles you mentioned. And what did you learn about them or in their flight? Are you taking videos and stills, or what do you typically do?
Basically just stills.
Hmm.
And it is just incredibly beautiful to be um I had no idea, for example, until I started, that there's 8 eagle nests in our neighborhood.
Hmm. You know, you really
That's
are,
my
you're really inspiring me. How did you find these eagles' nests? How did you learn?
well, what happened is actually I was looking for a screech owl that's in a tree, and as I was taking looking for the owl, which I didn't find at the time, I looked up and there was probably 15, 20 bald eagles flying above my head,
Wow.
which was in April, and they were migrating, and I didn't realize that that's happening. And then I kept coming back for a couple days, and then I met a whole bunch of really awesome photographers. And if they know that you're a nature person, they will share some of the information with you, where to find them.
I see. I see. Okay, right. They have to sort of guard the fort a little bit. They can't be letting everyone know because some aren't nature people, right?
Yeah, well, like you have people that go and, how do you put it to be polite, that are really not respecting the animals. They're like
Yeah,
clapping and maybe throwing some rocks at the nest so the bird will
yeah,
fly, and that's not really the intention, right?
not at all. Right.
So a lot of the photographers became more protective, but because I was there every day and they knew that I'm just interested in taking beautiful pictures, they shared with me where the eagle's nest is.
Beautiful. That's really
And
great. Now, How does this interface with the award you won? I'm looking at the picture that you created. I'd be hard pressed to call this a photograph, but it might be, I suppose. Tell me a little bit about this cover photo that you're involved with here.
So on my journey, it partly started in the Wisdom for the Arts. I'm assisting in the Wisdom for the Arts, and it became my project. And I was out taking photographs almost every day and then sharing them. And one of the people that is assisting, Ruby, said, your photography is really beautiful. You really should put your pictures into the competition for the cover art. And I'm kind of went, oh yeah, it would be a nice idea, I guess. And I just kind of forgot. And then she reminded me, and I landed up just picking these pictures and sending them.
Wow.
The picture is actually called Sulphur Springs, and we do have a sulphur spring in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just out and about looking for something. It was in the spring, and I was just looking for something to inspire me to take pictures of. And it's a fountain where the water comes out, and the water is actually kind of grayish, gold, silvery, as you can see in the picture. And then there was leaves in the fountain where the water comes out, and that's actually the sulfur.
Okay, so now that I look at it, I can see that it is a photograph. But one of the things that I notice when I look at it is, wait, what's this? Wait, what am I looking at? Wait, how does this move me? Wait, do I like it? Do I not like? I do love it, but is this great? Which again, it very obviously is both great and lovable. One of the things I'm really struck by it is it's not entirely clear that it's a photograph. It really could be, and maybe even from your skill set, a drawing by a terrific artist. And maybe it really is, right? Maybe our creator is just a terrific artist. And I'd love to hear what you say about the interface between photography and canvas art or art with painting. It's a tough question, I think.
It's a big question. And, for me, it's like an interesting question because as a photographer, we always struggle with people telling us, well, it's photography, that's not art, because you take
Right.
a picture of it. But I'm going, that's not the truth because in photography, as well as in drawing and in art, you have to know light, you have to understand light,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to understand the beauty of when light is in the right position.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the picture, it is the light and the softness of the day, the time of the day, like in the morning when I took the picture, the softness of the light that makes it beautiful.
So was this a morning picture?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same when you're painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at Van Gogh or any of those artists, like he understood light.
Yeah.
He would look at these flowers, he would look at nature and the beauty of nature, and then he would be able to put it on a canvas.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
way
Monet
he used
Monet comes to
Monet,
mind for me.
yeah.
I visited his home up in France, and that's what I saw. It's like, wow. Monet could have drawn your photograph is almost what I have to say here. It's what it kind of looks like. Maybe not. I don't think anyone would truly mistake it for a Monet, but it's a mesmerizing photograph that has me searching my eyes across the whole piece. My eyes take a travel and I look at each and every corner of the piece. And I don't think I naturally do that. But I think this one has a flow to it that has me want to embrace the entire piece. What's your take on this piece? And what did when you submitted it, did you submit it with other photos, or did you kind of know that this one was pretty radical?
No, I had no idea that it was going to be picked. The main thing is I did graphic design as well, a little bit. So I was partly looking for an image that would depict nature, because that's what I like, and also kind of being conscious that when they use the picture for the posters and stuff, there will have to be an image that goes well when you put writing on top.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Right.
doesn't conflict with what they're trying, when you're putting the poster together. So that was
Interesting.
part of the intention when I looked at it.
I see that. Well, it certainly meets that criteria. It's beautiful. The writing actually fits. That's what makes it look mostly like a drawing, is how perfectly the announcement of the Conference for Global Transformation fits right there on the left side of the photo. Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Thank you. I personally also love to go out sometimes and just take pictures of where you really gotta stop and go, what? This is really amazing. What is it?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
it
there.
becomes more thought provoking.
Hmm.
Like were you asking me, it's really neat, but I haven't been be able really to figure out what it is.
Hmm.
Because most likely you're not very often standing beside a sulfur spring.
Well, it's a rare person who would look at this photo without the title in their hand and guess that it was a sulfur spring. It's not clear at all. There's nothing here that screams to me that this is oh, I know what this is. It's a sulfur spring. Not quite. There's something very abstract about it, and yet soothing and lively, and the colors are extraordinary, and even the shapes are such that it reminds us of something primordial, something back in the day, when bees ruled the earth. This was something that was what life forms would look like. Is a lot of, these colors, we don't naturally get reminded of the vividness of the colors of this particular photograph. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now it's a hobby. Is this something that you've done professionally? Have you sold some photos? Have you won awards before? Or is this like the first time that you're really getting this level? So, excuse me for asking, but who have you been in the world of photography up until now?
Well, when I first finished school, I went back to Europe and I wanted to actually see if I wanted to live there, and I worked there for a little bit. And it was very challenging. And it was simply challenging for the fact that I was 24 and I was a female, and they would tell me, we're not going to hire you. You're probably going to get married and get kids, and we're not going to invest in you. And that was very devastating for me at the time. I came back and then I worked as a portrait photographer, traveling across Canada for 3.5 years, which was really
Hmm.
fun. I
Hmm.
got to know my country because I got to go
Now,
to a lot of.
did you take the Canadian National Highway all the way?
Yeah.
Like I've been on that highway. I've been driven a lot in this continent, and I'm not sure that the western edge of the Canadian National Highway from Alberta and British Columbia are not the prettiest road I've ever seen. It's unbelievably spectacular. And that's on the southern border, not even to mention the miles and miles and miles of Canada that
Yeah.
is north of that highway. Yeah.
It's incredibly beautiful. I went all the way from Ontario all the way to BC.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
worked in the rural areas of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. Alberta for me was like coming home
Yep.
because the Rockies, being born and raised in Austria, the Rockies were just like it feels like home.
Yeah, Alberta. That's Banff and Lake Louise, I believe. Still, is that in British Columbia, or is that might be in Alberta? Yeah,
Yeah, Banff and Lake Louise are still in Alberta.
that's right. And so, yeah, I've done that route a few times and come up through maybe Idaho. I've done, and then just a couple years ago, I drove across the Western Rockies, Canadian National Highway, all the way to Whistler, and then Vancouver, and then Victoria, and then back down into the United States. And my goodness, it's truly beautiful. Were you armed with a camera the whole time? Do you have just photo shoots from that area that are extraordinary?
Yes, I still have some from that time, not as much because that was the time of film.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, and I did mostly portraits. So basically, I worked for a company called Glamour Portraits, and it was actually really
Hmm.
fun. It was really rewarding because it was women coming into a hairdressing shop and they got their makeup done and hair done and then dressed up, and you make people feel really
Yeah,
beautiful. And you can take glamour portraits, and it was an incredible
yeah,
experience.
beautiful.
And from there, I went traveling. So I have lots of amazing pictures. I went 6 months to Southeast Asia. I went back to Europe for 2 months. And then I went to Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and I spent a month and a half traveling through China.
Wow, wow.
We have lots of great photographs from
Wow,
there.
that's amazing. So my guess is, and maybe you can be honest with us here, this might not be your favorite photo. The one that won may not be in your world. It's one of many, or maybe a great one, but not the greatest. You have a photo that you took that you really believe is the quintessential opus of your work to date. Do you have one that's just way, way, way beautiful?
I would think I took one the other day,
I'd love to see it.
and it is of a hummingbird.
Yeah, say more about that
And
one.
it was really incredible because I was in my garden. The hummingbird was showing up, who had eluded me for weeks and
Mhm.
weeks.
They seem smart for their little pea brain.
We smart and
Yeah, they're
very
very fast.
fast. And he landed up going on a sweet pea.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet pea, and it kind of like pinkish, beautiful flower. And I started taking pictures, and he can't did back out of the flower. He turned towards me and he literally made a dead stop in midair. So I took these amazing pictures. You just kind of follow the bird and push the power button and keep taking pictures. And as I check if it's sharp, I realized that there was a yellow garden spider, and she had spun a big web right in that area, and he just stopped because it was about to fly into that nest.
Now, did you get a picture of the spider in the web as well, or mostly just the hummingbird stop?
So the spider in the web in the front of it is sharp, and the hummingbird is sharp.
They're both. It's all in the same photo.
It's all
All
in the
right.
same photo. It's pretty cool. I will
I
send
can't
it to
wait
you.
to see it. I can't wait to see it, Franziska. So I have some experience myself in this little arena of winning an award. I'm going to change the topic a little bit. I thank you for sharing all your travels. And certainly we could go and explore what happened in Thailand, what happened in Singapore, what happened in China and, Southeast Asia. And all your travels, for me, they really open up my eyes to things in the world that I otherwise might forget that are out there. Like what's in my neighborhood. I forget. I think what's in my neighborhood is like the mailbox, a driveway, and a grass that needs to be cut, and some neighbors I need to be at least aware of, if not friendly with. And then, there's some roads. And then some people have trees and gardens. And then there's a store over there. And that, for me, I probably speaking to most people, that just, for me, this area of in my neighborhood is just like dominated by things that are somewhat boring. But the truth is, I'm the one who's doing the filtering that calls those things boring. And in fact, every so often, I'll see something that's shocking in this neighborhood. I'll see a particular bird, or what seems like recently I saw a fox. And even a fox is enough to kind of blow you away. I won an award with the CGT as well. A few years ago, I won the award for article, and the article I wrote was called Global Madness. And it was shocking to me that I won. I was in an argument with my wife that morning. She wasn't my wife quite yet. I was like, "Urgh." I went into actually my bedroom, not even an office, and started typing away on my phone this story that ended up being moved and moved and moved. And all of a sudden I'm a finalist. And then all of a sudden I won. It was like, wow, who, who saw that coming? And it came with a responsibility. It came with an accountability, and it came with some degree of self-assured confidence for me. There was like, oh, wow, I guess I'm at least proficient enough writer to, on occasion, win an award, because it was my first writing award that I ever won. Tell us a bit about what you thought when you won.
Kind of like you. I just sent a picture basically because Ruby said you promised you would do this. And I went like, oh, I better do this. Otherwise I have to explain my
Right.
integrity, right?
Right.
Because I promised I would. I picked the pictures and I sent them, and I actually had no expectations of winning
Right.
anything. However, as my intended outcome at Wisdom for the Arts in my assisting agreement, I did say I want to be known as a photographer. And I guess that was part of what happened because I declared it, and I landed up entering the photo because of actually opening up and letting people see my photography. Until now, most of the time, I would just take beautiful pictures and just kind of share them with my family, maybe, as close
Hmm.
friends. But recently, it's really opening up for me that I think it's something that I'm good at. And like you said, it gives you
Hmm.
confidence, it's the acknowledgement. Also, I was blown away when people told me how much they loved the video I made,
Hmm.
how the photographs I take move
Hmm.
them. And it brings me to a point where I'm realizing that it's something, it feels like it's part of a
Yes.
journey, a new journey that I'm entering, and really showing something bigger and something more
Hmm.
important. I'm in sales right now and it's not bad, but I'm good at it, but it's not the same.
Right.
It doesn't move me the
Right.
same way. And I talked with my friend Gloria the other day, and she said, every time you take these photographs, I get to know something. I get to see something. I find out something that I had no idea was around.
It is beautiful. One of the things that's happening to me as I speak with you, Franziska, is I bought myself a camera just about 10 days ago. Well, I guess it's 20 days ago, but I set it up 10 days ago up here for my podcasting business and for some of the consulting work that I'll be doing. And if we have to continue to do this work virtually, some of the keynote speaking or, just having a top notch camera rather than the camera that comes with my computer. So I really am looking now at my Sony camera and it's just perched up over my monitor. And it's really waiting to be connected to my iMac. And as I look at it and as I see how it could feel in my hands, I'm eager to take it right off its brace and go out there into the nature right after our conversation and take photos. So that's another thing that you're providing is by sharing the beauty of what it is to be a photographer or to source or to be the vessel that allows nature to be seen by your friends and family who otherwise wouldn't even have known it was there is quite awesome. So thank you for being that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it was also last year at the end of Wisdom for the Arts. We usually have a session where people show their projects, and I just kind of took one of those video places. What is it called? Programs where you make videos, and I took some of my photographs and put them in, and then people shared, and it was like I was moved
Hmm.
myself by when they said, I had no idea a bee has that much pollen on it. I didn't realize that it had three pieces on the tongue. I had no idea what they do in flowers. And the different things that I found and photographed that actually made people present. Oh, that's in my neighborhood.
Right. It's like,
This is when I look down, there's little bugs, and there's like all these cool little things that I would maybe walk by every day and not even
right.
notice.
There's something about painting where, you really are making it up along the way. Or your imagination is then being translated to some form in painting. Here, there's almost like a revealing or an unconcealing of what's something that's already here, brought here by whatever the great artist in the sky or our creator or whatever's been here. And you just capturing it and making it available in an unconcealed or unhidden or bringing obscurity into sharp vision. And it is a different form of art than some of the other visual arts, if you will. Do you agree with that? Is there a different source to be a photographer than it is to be a painter?
I think it's different. And then there's really, in some way, a camera is just a different brush,
Interesting.
so to speak.
Hmm.
Because it's like my paintbrush,
Yeah.
right? It's really, when you look at, there's people that take good pictures. There's people who take decent pictures. And then you have like Franz Lanting, who's one of my favorite photographers, or Friedman. Like when you look at some of the really amazing photographers in the world and you just like in
Right.
awe, you can see, like you're moved by how on earth did he even get this
Right.
picture?
Right. The title of the theme or the theme for the 2022 Conference for Global Transformation is allowing vision to speak. And boy, it
Yeah.
sure does sound like that's what you're about. So maybe part of what you're doing here is just simply representing the theme of what's here for the globe to now pay attention to with respect to transformation. So allowing vision to speak is a little bit exactly what you've been describing for us.
Yes.
Hmm.
And I think it's partly also when you have the vision and you're looking for something special, right? So when you have a vision of going to take pictures of an osprey, you then just get present. And I think you manifest it
Interesting.
somehow,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like the other day, I said, okay, today I literally drove to the spot where the bald eagles are. And I said, okay, today is it. I'm going to get a front door parking spot. I'm going to see the bald eagle and he's going to land in front and he's going to catch a fish.
And
And I got present to it
wow,
literally
that's just
happen.
amazing.
And I think it's partly, as my friend Gloria says, well, I'm not worried about anything because when you keep beauty in the world and you keep bringing it back to us, then it will just stay.
I think that's the quote of the day right there, Franziska. You know, although you didn't design it, it is the way you said it. I'm not worried about anything. When you bring the beauty back to us, when you show us what's out there already, there's some, how did she say it? There's some warmth or some worry goes away. Feel safe.
Yeah. Like throughout the last year, because I'm in sales and I basically do big road shows and trade shows. That's part of what I do to make a living. It has disappeared, literally. And in Canada, it hasn't really come back, just a little bit. But being able to take my camera and just going out there and finding beauty and taking this amazing photographs just really helped me focus
Hmm.
on what's important,
Spectacular.
on something bigger about
Yes,
life.
exactly. It's really, really beautiful. So I appreciate it. And really, I can't wait to see this one you took the other day. And I'm probably going to be a big fan here in a moment. Boy, this camera is now literally 6 inches from my face where it's been for the last week waiting on that cord. But in reality, I could just pick it up and go outside and start taking pictures. Is that how someone gets started as a photographer?
Yeah, like they say, you don't have to have a $10,000 camera. You just have to have a good camera, learn the basics of how to use it, and then just find things to take
Beautiful.
pictures of. And at the end of it, it's just a lot of it is trial and error and
Hmm.
practice. So last year, part of what I taught myself is how to take a picture of a swallow on a pond trying to catch a fly. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's magical, but they're so fast and so little, right?
Uh huh.
All I did was I went on YouTube and kept researching, well, how do you take pictures of swallows? And then just like, I mean, I guess I took 4,000 pictures before I got the one that I really loved. As you're in it, you're in the magic.
Hmm. It's beautiful.
You're in the magic of watching these little birds crashing, coming down, dive bombing underwater, crashing into the water, coming back out, catching these teeny little flies. And I was in awe. It's like, how does it even see it? How does it even aim for it?
Hmm. Yeah.
I think really when you take your camera, you just go out there and you just become part of the magic.
Hmm.
It's a way of being part of the magic of being in nature. For me, I just become, I'm just actually really being
Right.
with nature.
Well said.
Yeah, this morning it was like the gray heron and he's standing there. And it's just being with the gray heron and just being with that anticipation as he moves his feet and he starts looking and he's moving his head. And as you study the animals, you get the motions and you get to, the exact moment when he's just going to strike to get that fish. And he can just be so in that moment.
Beautiful.
And there's just something really magical about
Oh
it.
yeah. And you really bring it forth well with your words too. Who knows? You might win a poetry contest next year, Franziska. You're very beautiful with your words, and certainly appreciate everything that you're doing. And thanks for being who you've been for the conference and who you were for Wisdom for the Arts. If someone wants to get a hold of you or see your art, is there a place online where you said YouTube? How would someone find you?
Well, I have a Facebook page. They can find me there. They can look me up on the Facebook page. And I am actually taking it on as a challenge to maybe put together a Facebook page, or a lot of people say that Twitter is really good to put out your photographs. That is my new challenge.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck on that. Twitter sits out there for me too. Like, yeah, someday maybe. If it sounds like you have a whole advisory team that's helping you see how to and where to unfold your work. So congratulations on that too. And it's been a deep pleasure meeting you, and I really appreciate.
Thank you.
Yes. Is there anything else you want to say about any of the things we talked about? You know, we didn't get to talk much about your personal life or family and children and children. Yes.
No, I don't have children, but I have 9 nieces and nephews and 4 grandnieces and
Now
nephews.
we're talking. That's the
So
best
I
way
do
to
have
have.
lots of children.
That's the best way to have kids right
Yes.
there. Beautiful. All right, Franziska, is there anything you did want to say? Anything you wanted to say in closing?
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
My pleasure.
It's just one thing that I really learned throughout the conference of global transformation, rediscovering my art and nature and my love for nature, is that I did a post on plastic on the ocean. And the one thing that I really learned that I'm really present to is, as long you make it wrong, there's nothing you can create.
Yeah, beautiful.
And what I'm really learning is that through creation, through art, through beauty is how we inspire something to be moved forward. If it's global warming, if it's the bees, whatever it is that we want to make a difference in.
Beautiful. Really, really great.
Whatever we want to support in the world.
That's so fabulous. Thank you. That's really, really great. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you for your contribution. It's been a pleasure to have you. You fit right into the spectacular, extraordinary nature of humanity, and even more so in the sourcing and the vessel that you are for the creation of what's already here, giving people like myself a view of things in our neighborhood that we didn't know about, and allowing your vision to speak. And so thanks again. It's been wonderful. And I'll see you around the flip side. Thanks for being on Welcome to Humanity.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And listeners, how cool was that? It was really, really fun. And if you've made it up until now, isn't it amazing that each person I interview just gets better than the last? So it's an opportunity again to see that underneath it all, you're pretty spectacular too. You're pretty extraordinary too. And you definitely are human. So welcome to humanity. Thanks for being on the show. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now. I love you.
Hey, welcome to Humanity family. It's Ryan Levesque here, co-producer of the show. I truly hope you enjoyed Dr. Fred's in-depth conversation today. If you did, and if the conversations we share each week are making a difference for you, could you please take just a moment to leave a rating and a short review on Apple Podcasts? Your enthusiastic review helps new listeners discover the show. Your support here really does make a difference. I'd also like to invite you to reach out to a friend or two who would appreciate today's episode. Maybe shoot them a quick text or email, or maybe pick up the phone and invite them to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast so they can be enriched from the discovery of amazing ideas and insights each week. As always, you can find past episodes along with the complete show notes and links at welcometohumanity.net/podcast. If you'd like to explore how working one-on-one with Dr. Fred can help you break through whatever challenges you might be facing with your mental health or well-being, leading to new levels of freedom and vitality, I invite you to reach out to us directly by emailing Dr. Fred at welcometohumanity.net. That's DRFRED at welcometohumanity.net. Thanks so much for listening, and keep an ear out for another captivating conversation next week. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and indeed, a beautiful life. Welcome to Humanity.